All I know is the Auburn Tigers played in the Birmingham Bowl today. That was a ticket something
I
bowl
don't know.
game in
Who knows what the sponsor is?
and Birmingham. Needless to say, they drove themselves to their hotels
Wait, no, that's true.
today. I don't know. I'm hearing all different kind of reports that they drove to Montgomery and flew, and that doesn't make sense to me either. That they all met in Memphis and then flew.
I thought so. I saw on Twitter, people talking about, well, how does it feel to like have to get on 280, drive to the Birmingham Bowl, lose, and then get back in your own car and deal with having to drive back to Auburn in 280. And I thought that was just Alabama Twitter, just making fun of Auburn.
Well, either way, it's not that far. It would be crazy for them to jump on a plane and be able to get there. So I thought they were just going to be on some buses from Auburn. But then I thought about it. Why would you make, if the player lived in Birmingham, drive to Auburn to go get on the bus to come back, especially since it was, with all the COVID and all this kind of stuff. So either way, all I know is Auburn was playing in the bowl in Birmingham.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So that's not.
You probably should bring in Ryan so he can talk about that.
Yeah, so I was cheering for
Houston.
You know what? I'm going to make a confession. I was rooting for Auburn to win the game because they're in the SEC, and I didn't want to see them lose. But I was cheering because they were in the Birmingham Bowl, and that just seemed very ridiculous to me that they were there and it's just who they are and what they stand for and all that. So let's bring in a special guest of ours. I do tend to be on his show. He is on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa, knows all the ins and outs about Alabama football. He's a great Cowboy fan. He is a Heisman voter as well. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I didn't know that.
So we got to ask him a little bit about that. He'll be out here later on this week for the Alabama game. But let's bring him in to hear what he has to say about these Auburn Tigers and the loss that they had to Houston today. Everybody, please welcome Ryan Fowler to the show.
Ryan, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. It's good to be on with you and George, and I appreciate you guys having me. And I can't wait to talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide, my Dallas Cowboys, and then also kind of take a few shots at Auburn. So it's good to be on with you guys for a couple of minutes.
Well, we want to go ahead and take these shots at Auburn right now. So did you happen
I'm loaded.
Did you watch the game at all and how they played?
You can kind of paint this for those out there that may be Dallas fans. It's kind of like you're watching the Washington football team and you're watching them lose. I am on the air for the final game. And so the callers are calling in and they're like, can this really happen? And then Houston scored the late touchdown and was able to pull off the upset against, the Tigers. And, I'm sitting there watching the game and I'm going, how could this team push the Alabama Crimson Tide to an overtime-type game? It's like it was confusing to me watching that team not have a lot of success. And, my wife is not a huge football person. She looked at me this morning and she said, why is Auburn playing at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday morning? I said, darling, that's what happens when you're 6-6. So they put you on Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock, whenever they can find a TV window.
Did you actually think that this game was going to be close?
Well, listen, my heart, wanted to believe that Houston could really push them around a little bit. But I thought Auburn and the SEC, I thought that the line of scrimmage would really favor the Auburn Tigers, and really that was not the case. When you started watching, there was times that I thought Houston's line of scrimmage just really pushed Auburn around a little bit. And now I know defensively for Auburn, which has been there all season, but to me I thought Houston's defensive line just whipped Auburn's offensive line as I was watching that game.
I guess you know a little bit better than me because I picked Houston to win, And if I would have actually put money on it, I would have picked Houston to win like by double digits.
How many
I didn't think it was
points
going to
did you
get
put it
close.
in our league?
Medium
Your confidence
confidence. I believe it was over 20 points.
I should have did it, but
I didn't have any faith at all that that Auburn could win that game. So when I saw it and that it was close, I was like, oh, this is probably actually a pretty decent game to watch.
So Ryan, what do you think about it though? With I think Auburn had 4 or 5 starters out, whether they declared not to play or whatnot. How do you feel about that trend of players not playing in bowl games because of their pro aspirations?
Well, I've been a little bit mixed, but I got to go back to what Coach Saban said a few years ago. He said when we start with college football playoffs that this is what's going to happen. So in some capacity, we've almost got to take some of that responsibility. And I've been a little bit mixed. I've been on the fence about this. Should you play? Should you give up on your teammates that has got you to the position that you're in? But then, as of late, when I see all these cancellations happening, especially within the last 7 days, it's hard for me to scream at players and say, well, you should play in these games when I see so many of these teams that are backing down in these bowl games. And I'm like, okay, I'm not able to scream at the players anymore for opting out if I'm not going to be able to scream at the school. So I feel like that, like I said, I think that the players should play. I have a hard time screaming at these guys because we have so many schools that are backing out of these bowl games too. I mean, look at it today with UCLA backing out after their fans go all the way across the country. So I know that's going to be an excuse that we're going to hear from Auburn fans for the next, 300 plus days. But you're Auburn. You're an SEC program. You should be able to beat Houston regardless if there's a few players that are leaving early for the NFL.
I do agree with you about that, and in one sense, okay, but the other side of it is, and I was talking about this to Consuela, my wife, and my daughter Jada, who's also in the house with us here at Lantern Street Pub and Tap House here in Plano, Texas, 6205 Court Road. Come on out. We'll be out here for about an hour. But it's frustrating to me as a player, I think, about opting out to not play in the bowl games, especially just because you're not in the playoffs or something of that nature. I personally I think you need to finish your role because it's really more about your brotherhood than other things. That you've been bleeding, you've been sweating, all the stuff that we say with your teammates, and to opt out of the bowl game and have them lose like that, regardless of who it is. I wouldn't want my stars to not play and put us in a bad situation. So maybe that's a different topic for another time. And I don't want to give Auburn too much credit or too much talk in here this evening.
Well, George, if I could just add one thing real quick to it, because you're right there in the state of Texas, and we're going to watch Texas and Oklahoma come into the league. If you're Auburn, the only stress and I'm going to remove my crimson colored glasses for just a minute. If you're looking at Brian Harsin, would you buy stock in him? If I was selling you stock to the Auburn program after year number 1, because we're about to watch the SEC get harder. And I don't know exactly how Greg Sankey's going to divide it up, but you got Texas coming in, you got Oklahoma. When I start looking at that pecking order in the Southeastern Conference, regardless if everybody stays in the SEC West or if they move it and maybe they do pods or everything, look at everybody's got to establish themselves right now. I think that's why you saw LSU making a move with Coach O. I think other programs are trying to establish themselves because they know that this league's about to get tougher with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. I mean, there's just so many wins that you're going to have to find, in a 12-game schedule. So if I'm an Auburn fan, I'm looking and I'm going, the play caller that you sold me on today, I didn't see anything that would make me want to buy stock in Brian Harsin.
No, me either. And I think you're giving Oklahoma and Texas too much credit. Anyway, that's
Sure.
me living out here.
Yeah,
Trying to make them feel good. I was trying to make them feel good.
you know, you gotta sometimes it's fleeting, but sometimes I do feel for Oklahoma just a little bit because they did think that they were going to come in at least with some kind of momentum, and Lincoln Riley wanted no part of that.
You don't want none of this smoke in the SEC,
Lost
baby.
a whole bunch of recruits, and now you come in thinking you might be a contender, and you might just be another Texas.
Yeah, we might ruin their program if they come in and they run into Georgia earlier. But it will be interesting to see how they split it up, by divisions within the SEC. So let's go ahead and turn our attention to Bama a little bit. Can we go ahead?
The real team.
Cowboys?
I was going to go to the Cowboys first.
It's up to you. It's your show.
All right. I like when you say that. Hey, it's my show. Anyway, it's called Teague's Take. JT is a Teague as well, so it's just as much your show as well. It doesn't say the George Teague podcast.
Well, it does say a podcast with George Teague.
Well, that's how it started out. But we'll change the graphic then to make sure it says a podcast with George and James Teague. Okay, so Ryan, let's go ahead and talk about the Cowboys a little bit. The Cowboys put on a tremendous show against the Washington football team on Sunday night. Offense was rolling, defense was rolling, special teams was rolling. Do you feel like this is who the Cowboys are now, or was that just a fluke of a showing because we haven't been consistent?
Well, you got to look at the opponent, and anytime you can beat somebody the way that they did in the National Football League, I think you got to give some credit to those guys. But it is Washington, and as many Alabama guys as we've got over there, we got to kind of call it the way we see it. When you look at the other side of the field, that's a team that is, fairly limited. But hey, listen, anytime you can win in the way that they did, I was enjoying every minute of it. I'm like, all right. And, just watching guys that follow here in Tuscaloosa, whether it's, Amari Cooper, having a chance to watch Dak Prescott. And listen, I covered him while he was at Mississippi State. Mississippi State's only, for those that may or may not know, Tuscaloosa, Mississippi State is the closest proximity of any of the SEC schools. So it's only, an hour, 15 minutes down the road when you look at Mississippi State and Alabama as far as close. Just watching Dak Prescott be a player, and if you would have asked me what you thought of Dak Prescott coming into the league, I had a lot of questions. And me being a Cowboy guy, I'm like, what are they doing? Are they really going to try to build a franchise around Dak Prescott? Is this really the future? And when you look at Dak Prescott, everything that he's been able to accomplish, the way that he carried himself, just watching him in this league, I didn't think that he was going to be this type of player. I didn't think he was going to be a bad player, but just looking at the way the leadership that he shows out on that field is pretty impressive. And he is he was a tough son of a gun in the SEC, and just watching him have success in the next level is pretty incredible. And you get a chance to cover these guys, you get to know them, in an interview basis. He was nothing but class at Mississippi State, so it's fun to watch the good guys have success in the next level.
So there's another guy that I want to bring your attention to that played for Alabama. Amari Cooper seemed like he came out of his shell this week vocally, asking for the ball. One of our listeners or viewers, actually, Craig Young, had a question that actually said, referring to Cooper, should he be asking for the ball, basically. So anything that you can tell us about Amari.
So the actual question is Cooper right to be mad that he isn't getting that many targets?
Well, and Amari Cooper, I hate to just feel like I'm repeating myself about Dak Prescott because I didn't cover him like I did Amari Cooper. But just watching Amari Cooper, he was always the quiet guy here, but you would, because he was such a great player. If you watch, I guess it was 2012, he burst on the scene, had 1,000 yards receiving as a true freshman. Watching him grow as a player, he didn't say a lot. I mean, there's things that he said in media availability that I could still stick in my head, going into that record-setting 2014 campaign with Lane Kiffin taking over as offensive coordinator, watching him develop as a player, but just the way that he handled his business. I mean, he spoke with actions rather than words. He was that guy that everybody looked up to as a leader, even as a young player, but just that he spoke with his actions, that he guided. That was the way that leadership was for Amari Cooper. And I know that it's probably been documented out there, but he's a highly intelligent guy. I memean, he does things like playing chess before a game. I think that's been documented. But I mean, I heard from multiple teammates that's who he is. For him to come out and say, "Hey, give me the ball," that tells me that something didn't go right for Amari Cooper, and maybe somebody was encouraging him, because the Amari Cooper that I covered here was not that vocal of a guy. So for him taking charge, either somebody's pushing him to do that, or his coaching staff is saying, "Hey, take charge of that." I guess it's kind of it's refreshing to hear that from a guy like Amari Cooper, who didn't say a lot here in Tuscaloosa. He just looked up at the stat board, and this is what he was able to put up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That is a very good insight, and I'm very glad that he's able to get out of his shell and talk a little bit about it. But I want to bring in another person here about Diggs, Trayvon Diggs. JT posed a question on the show last week. And by the way, if you haven't seen our shows, if you're trying to find out where, or you can make sure you go to live.teagstake.com to see all the video replays of these shows. They'll be up on YouTube. Just click on that link and come and go watch it if you're not watching us live. But JT posed a question last week about who was the MVP of this defense, and maybe he meant of the whole team or the league, but I'm going to ask you from the defensive standpoint, who would you put as the MVP of the Dallas Cowboy defense, Trayvon Diggs or Michael Parsons?
Well, I saw some PFF analytics earlier today talking about Michael Parsons and, what he's been able to do, being one of the highest graded guys, not just on this Dallas team, but around college football when you look at the grade. Now, when you look at some of the analytics stuff that they put out there, some of it you scratch your head and you're like, okay, does this all add up? But I think when you look at it, but I mean, this is probably a better question for you than it is for me. But when you look at Diggs, the success that he's having, that's got to go through the quarterback's mind every time he drops back to throw a football, especially in the direction that he's going. Because it's just like, it's a baseball player that's in a hot streak. It's like when they see the ball coming off of the pitcher's hand, they say that, when a guy's in his hot streak, that it looks like a beach ball, that it's coming at you. I know it's not a beach ball, but it just the sight of it when you're in your zone, that it looks like a beach ball coming at you. And I wonder, when you look at Diggs having the success that he's having, it's got to be, for one, it's confidence for him, but it's got to be the other quarterback is not wanting to feed the beast. So if you look at it, it just seems like that the mental side of that going up against a player like Diggs. So, I'm biased towards Diggs because, watching him develop and having this big season, but I would probably lean toward Michael Parsons.
I think that's kind of where I was too with that was, Michael Parsons causes a little bit more headache, right? Because you have to find him. Trayvon, you kind of know where he is pre-snap. He's just covering your best receiver, and you can. I feel like teams should have stopped throwing at Trayvon a long time ago. Maybe after the first 5 games when he had 5 picks. I thought that was going to be enough, but it's hard to take Michael Parsons out of your game plan because you got to worry about him, whether he's stuffing you on the run, whether he's coming off the edge as a pass rusher or dropping into coverage. I mean,
I think he's just as opportunistic. It's just for some reason people keep wanting to test Diggs this year, and I haven't quite figured out why.
Well, they shouldn't have did it on the first play of the game on a bad throw in a huge rivalry game. And by the way, did you see that the football team actually had those? I don't know if they were table covers or seats or whatever it was on the sideline.
They flew in. Did they fly in their bench?
Yeah,
bench
they were over there. They were sitting there, and they had their logo on the deal.
Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen had enough heat to go around for everybody. So, I don't know if they really needed the warmers. All you needed was one good punch to the face.
So what do you think about that, Ryan? You got two former Alabama guys on the sideline of the football team's deal going at it during the game. Has there been any talk about that around the town, Tuscaloosa, about?
Sure. Well, and if you go to my show account, to show you how much respect I have for Jonathan Allen, and a couple of years ago when you and I and I know I don't know if JT was a part of us as well, but I know you had some family that was on the Crimson Tide cruise. We got a chance to hang out with Jonathan, and if you go to my show account to tell you how much respect I have for Jonathan Allen, I've got him as my avatar photo is me interviewing Jonathan Allen, and just watching him the way that listen, I'm going to be honest. I'm Bama biased. I get a chance, and I don't know how you're not able to be. When you cover these guys, watching them come in as true freshmen and watching them grow as people, watching them grow as players, watching them walk across the graduation stage, go into the NFL, you pull for guys. But the way that the Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, I had three brothers, so there was four of us. And we got in a lot of fights, okay? We got in a lot of fights. There were some of those that I won and some of those that I lost, from one younger and two older. And so I looked at it knowing that those guys are as close as they are. It was, Deron Payne probably should have put his finger in Jonathan Allen's face.
That's just facts. You can't poke a grown man on the side of his head and expect everything to just be all right.
I'm sitting there going, with Nick Saban in 2016, which those guys were a part of, Nick Saban called that defensive group. He said, we got some nasty dudes over there. And if you remember, Reuben Foster was a part of that. Just a headhunter when you look at him. But Jonathan Allen, you won't find a better guy than Jonathan Allen. I'm not just saying that because he wore the Alabama jersey, but just overall, just a good guy when you look at Jonathan Allen. Even the guys that I talked about, Amari Cooper, Trayvon Diggs, Dak Prescott, Jonathan Allen, have a hard time as a true lifelong Dallas Cowboy guy of rooting against Washington. And you guys know how much we're taught to dislike Washington. And I see when I find myself being guilty of pulling against guys like Jonathan Allen. And when you see that brotherhood, I don't think that there's no bad blood in these guys. It's just, it's two brothers. I promise you, if you really wanted to fight, walk up and get those guys kind of like, stoked at one another. You'd have really had a fight on your hands. But listen, I'm sure that they probably look back and they probably regret that it happened on national television. You could see it. And I could almost see myself sitting on that bench with Deron Payne, because he was so mad, he was sitting there just shaking. And I'm going, that reminds me so many times of my brothers and I doing the same thing.
Well, you got lucky because you only had three brothers. I had six brothers, and they were all older than me, so I wasn't.
No wonder you were so tough, George.
Yeah, I know, that's right. I'd have no choice but to be, because it was a battle, and a lot of people might have heard me say about one way I learned how to knock down balls was because they were always getting thrown right at my face all the time. So that led me to be a defensive back, because I had to be able to knock down those passes. But I do got one more question for him, maybe both of you guys, about Trayvon Diggs. And this is kind of what we were talking about earlier about transfers. Now, while he was at Alabama, he was a wide receiver. They moved him over to defensive back. You know, the way things are now, people transfer for anything. You don't play enough, or if you change your position or something of that nature. Why do you think Trayvon didn't leave?
Ryan
Well,
probably
I
has a
think
better answer for that.
All right,
I'd be
Ryan.
well,
guessing.
I can remember going out on that field and watching Trayvon Diggs be on the defensive side of the football. I can almost tell you where I was at when I saw him for the first time, and I'm going, what's going on here? I mean, what's happening? Why is Trayvon over here and not on the wide receiver side and some of the individual drills? Now, but I think you got to trust Nick Saban. And to tie it back to the current climate of football, is I'm a little bit worried about this transfer portal. And these are the type of scenarios that I play in my mind. What if Diggs would have had a different attitude? Time of a transfer portal. What if he had said, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm out. You don't want me to be a wide receiver? Fine. That I'm not going to be a defensive back. I'm going to put my name in the transfer portal. Coaching is a tough business. And to be able to make these decisions, I don't know if coaching is going to have that type of flexibility where they're going to be able to just move players all over the field. I mean, I've watched others. I mean, you know, a guy that is on our sidelines at Alabama that's the sideline reporter for Eli and John Parker is Rashad Johnson. Rashad Johnson walked in Alabama as a walk-on running back. Now, it's a little different when you're a scholarship guy like Diggs was, but he ended up being a two-time captain and played like 8-9 years in the NFL with Rashad Johnson. And so I just wonder, are players still going to be able to be coachable? Are they going to be able to, you know, that coach that's going to grab you and say, you know, I think you got a future here. But Nick Saban was on a Wednesday teleconference just a couple of maybe months ago, and he was asked about Trayvon Diggs talking about it. And you can imagine that the frustration was there. I mean, I think, you know, Trayvon would be lying to you if he told you that he was not frustrated. And I think he described talking to his brother that you know, he encouraged him to continue to do what Nick Saban wanted him to do. But it's so easy now that we've given this card where they can just tap out, that they can literally leave. I wonder how many other Trayvon Diggs are out there that's not going to be developed, that they're going to look for other spots and transfer, and we may never know how great they would have been at a certain position. But when the greatest college football coach of all time says, hey, I want to take a look at you, the defensive back, and that's his group of players that he coaches, I think you've got to listen. And Trayvon Diggs was very smart to do that.
Yes. Well, I can tell you there was one guy way back in the day that didn't want to transfer out of the University of Alabama, and that was me. My head coach was removed after my freshman year. And, you know, as much as you think about it, it's what I talk about as a head coach. JT knows it. It's about the commitment that you make to a team and trying to fight through any obstacles and at least giving it a chance. And you've hit it on the head where these guys don't even have to give themselves a chance because they got a free pass just to be able to go. And I'm not sure that I absolutely like the way that it's trending with the transfer portal as well. I do want to give a shout out to the people in the chat that are leaving their comments and joining into the show via the stream. Thank you guys very much for doing that. We always appreciate you every week that you're in here. Please continue to support us the way that you are and put those comments in here. JT does monitor them and see them consistently, puts them on the screen and things of that nature. And this is just a reminder again for those who just popped in. We are out here live. We hadn't been live in a long time, man. How long has it been? Not live, but on location.
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, a year and a half.
It was way before COVID when we were out at another bar. But we're happy
right at the start, actually.
Oh, yeah, right at the start as it was coming on. But we're happy to be out here again amongst the folks and the people. We're at the Atlanta Street pub and
oh, look, Clara's here.
Tap House.
Of course, Clara shows up after all the Cowboys talk is over with.
She's probably overseas somewhere on the wrong time zone or something. But we're at the Tap House, Atlanta Street Tap House, Grill and Tap House at 6205 Court Road. They do have different drink specials and food specials daily, so you need to come out here and check them out. It's one of my favorite places to come after work. It's about 2-3 miles probably away from John Paul II High School. We got a lot of special guests out here. Don't you go anywhere, sir, because I got a special gift for you tonight as well. They do karaoke Wednesday through Sunday nights. They got the Sunday.
And you may accidentally find a John Paul coach in here doing karaoke on a Friday night. You know that's happened before.
That's right. It's a small, homey place, and you should come in if you want to meet great people who just like to have a good time, watch the sports, have a couple spirits. Then this is the place. You'll find the owner here all the time, hanging out, having a good time, as he is now.
Bartender
I think he's actually out there being a bartender right now. So we appreciate Calvin for allowing us to come out here again today. And welcome to the chat.
So, do you want to touch on John Madden? He passed today.
Yeah.
Today, actually.
Yeah.
Right after his documentary too. I haven't watched it yet, but I know it must have been impactful because my father-in-law watched it and was telling me about it. So, I'm not particularly old enough myself to remember John Madden really, other than my exposure to his branded video games.
Yes. Well, shout out to him and his family. We give prayers up for them. Anytime, he's a legend to the game, and I did get to see a lot of stuff on Twitter, and maybe Ryan will have some things to talk about the legacy that he's left, in our sports world. I had a chance to meet him. I did not really know him. And I was happy with the rating that he gave me on EA Sports. He's
not the one responsible for the rating.
Well, it doesn't matter. It felt good to me. I was pretty fast on that game, so I was like, all right, they took care of me on this. But, it's just a sad time when you lose people like that. So, Ryan, did you happen to have any run-ins with him at all?
Well, the only thing that I love to study, whether it's Coach Stallings, your coach, or, whether it's former players telling me about Coach Bryant, or, 40 years from now, we'll be talking about Coach Saban the same way from a lot of these guys. But back when our very own Kenny Stabler was inducted after his passing into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we started featuring guys like Fred Blitnikoff, just a lot of players that played in Oakland. And I always tried to get people to help us understand, who John Madden was. I'm like JT. I was born in 1978. His last coaching day was 1978. So when you look at, understanding who John Madden was as a coach, I didn't really understand who he was other than the way that players would tell me stories about him and helping us honor Kenny Stabler. But just listening to him talk, the way that, he honored his players, isn't it kind of ironic whether not that all of these people are different people, but as you hear people talk about John Madden or the great ones, there's always some type of similarity. And the one thing that I always hear about great coaches is how players played for them and how they were able to have that personal connection. I mean, yeah, you knew their role as a coach, but it seems like that these coaches that really have success are the ones that are able to connect with their players. And it seems like that they get more out of their players by having that deeper connection. And so listening to players talk about Madden or, our coach, Coach Stallings or Coach Saban, it seems like that the similarities that you hear between great coaches is that personal relationship of having that connection. And it seems like a lot of people, have that connection with John Madden. And I'm reading some of those comments out there. I was just reading just as we were going into one of the segments there from guys like Warren Moon sharing things about John Madden. So you definitely mourn the death, but it's also a chance to celebrate life. And John Madden touched a lot of lives just by judging from those who knew him a lot closer than I did.
Yes, Absolutely. Thank you for talking about that. So one more thing for the people that are in the watching it on the stream, will you make sure that you let us know if the audio and things are okay for you to hear right now? This is our first time out here, kind of giving our own little setup. So
Yeah, it was a little more difficult than I would have liked to have been to try to get audio.
yeah, we
the way it
paid
is.
we paid somebody to do this for us the last time, and so we're out here pretending like we're engineers and things of that nature. And so we got some feedback from the people in the bar that told us that it's okay here, but we need to know how it sounds on the stream as well. So if you can give us any kind of feedback, I don't know, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. I don't know.
Craig says it sounds great.
All right. Well, as long as Craig says it sounds great,
Yes.
that would be good.
Craig is probably our most reliable and best critic. So
Yes.
But as a hard segue, I have to pat myself on the back because Red Elephant, who's in the chat, which I cannot remember what his actual name is. So if you can please, and Blair Brown says it sounds good in Georgia. So sounds like we're doing all right. Clara says it's all good too. If Red Elephant, I need you to tell me what your name is because I know it's the Red Elephant Club is why it is what it is, but I don't remember what your actual name was from when you came over from Facebook. But his comment was, JT, you were right. I watched tape on Sauce Gardner. He's legit. So now this is where I have to show off a little bit because I was listening to Ryan's show. It's the game with Ryan Fowler, right?
It is.
On Tide 100.9 out in Tuscaloosa. And you've been busy because I was also listening to Jay Barker's show. So I listened to about an hour of your show yesterday. And I listened to about an hour of Jay's show this morning. And I know you had your show again until about 6, right? You air from 2 to 6, right?
Yes, and then Martin and I, which is one of George's teammates, we do a show from 6 until 7 on Tuesday night. So this is my 6th hour of radio today.
Yeah.
I got one more interview coming up at 9. I think it's 9:15. I got to go on in LA. They want to talk a little Alabama football. So I've been on for quite a while. I'm making the 92 rounds. I mean, I've been on with Jay and Martin and now George. So I'm trying to cover a lot of different bases.
Well, we appreciate the time. And I won't bury the lead here because I heard it's probably not a hot take to you, but it's because you said it. You're expecting this playoff game to be a blowout, right?
I am. And one of the reasons why, and we talked about this with Jay earlier, and he had asked me about Will Anderson's comment. Listen, he is the greatest coach that ever walked the sidelines in the college level when you look at all the championships. He's also the number one sports psychologist. When you look at the way that he manages players, he knows, and trust me, I know, listen, I featured George maybe a month and a half ago, and I could probably sense a little frustration with him as well because Saban was being all complimentary of his football team. And it's like, hold on. Whoa.
Who is this guy and what have you done with Nick Saban?
Yes. I mean, I'm sitting there going, what are you doing? I mean, you keep bragging on these guys, and it's like they don't really deserve to be bragged upon. But he knows what buttons to mash and what to pull back. Will Anderson came on and did a media availability yesterday via Zoom, and he made a comment, and he said that they've been disrespected, that they feel like that they're the underdog.
Yep.
And let's discuss that. I mean, 13.5 point favorite, number one team in the country. The first time ever a group of 5 team in the college football playoff. And he's got these guys believing that they're the underdog.
Well, you know, I think that maybe they've been looking at some of my tweets that I've actually tweeted at you when it comes to when you were asking about whether they were going to cover spreads or not, and I said no, not because they're not good, but that's just like not what Alabama does, or this version of Alabama just they don't cover spreads. So I wonder, if Saban can reach into those kind of things and say, hey, look, they don't think that you're that good. That I don't know what he's saying to them. It is miraculous to me, like you said, that you can be the number one team favored by basically 2 touchdowns and claim that you're the underdog here against a G5 team. So, but I've got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So the first one being, you got Kobe Bryant, the Kobe Bryant, Coby Bryant. The other, I know you know who he is, but for everybody else, this is the corner opposite of Sauce Gardner, who is the Jim Thorpe Award winner. And then you got Sauce Gardner himself, who I think I saw he hasn't given up a touchdown pass in his entire tenure at Cincinnati. And we've got Jamison Williams. We would have had Mechie. But who else are you looking forward to in this particular game to step up and fill that role? I mean, I know we've got names. We've got Slade Bolden. We've got Trayshawn Holden. We've got Ja'Cory Brooks. But who is actually going to be the number 2 guy that when all eyes are looking at Jamison Williams running down the field, we've got the reliable dig or hitch or curl or whatever that we're just throwing for first downs?
All right, so I want to go, and I know that a corner is not going to be bracketed, with a tight end. I get that, but I think there's just something that tells me that Billingsley is going to be able to step into a role. Cameron Latou, and we were talking about this tonight on Alabama Tradition with Martin and myself, the 3-3-5, and how that may allow that tight end to have some opportunities. I think he can take some of that because look at Billingsley coming into the season. We thought Billingsley would step into a role and to be able to really go into the season thinking that we could come out of the season, that he had a high round NFL grade. Well, he's not had that type of season. So when you really get to thinking about it and you spend some time looking at this Alabama offense, Ja'Cory Brooks is a guy. Keep your eye on JoJo Earl. Bill O'Brien mentioned him today as a guy that's been working hard to replace John Mechie. John Mechie's a heck of a player. I think you're going to miss him from a leadership standpoint, but I also think you're going to miss him on the field because of look at who Bryce Young was comfortable with.
Right,
I think wide receiver is a guy that keep your eye also on Trayshawn Holden. Trayshawn is Bryce Young's roommate, and not just roommate on the road, but roommate as here in Tuscaloosa, off the football field. So just kind of keep that connection there. Not saying that Bryce that's going to influence who he's going to throw to, but there's a connection. I think the last 3 weeks, even though practice has only been underway for I guess right about 2 here, I just think that the wide receivers are going to have a step up. I mean, go back to 2017. Devontae Smith, that was a true freshman Devontae Smith who caught that 41-yard reception from Tua Tagovailoa to win a national title. I think you're going to see some guys step up, and now is opportunity for who takes that step when you look at 2022 and beyond. Who takes who emerges as one of those go-to guys. I think you're going to see some wide receivers really shine.
All right. So what I'm hearing is Billingsley is going to have an O.J. Howard-like coming out party.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. Because, but I think there will be some money to be made in that tight end group. And I know they've had some drops that have been key drops for Alabama, but they've also, they caught a few balls. I mean, go back to the Auburn drive. There were some key catches, and that they were guys that you could count on. And maybe it's just I'd like to see that because, in the media, we pick on guys from time to time, and I feel like we've thrown fair enough shade on Billingsley, and I hope he can prove us wrong.
Cincy, the defense is only giving up 160 yards, 167 yards passing per game. That seems to be pretty good. I know. Try to weigh on who they played.
They didn't face no Heisman winner.
Yeah, and 137 yards rushing per game. So they're only giving up about 300 yards, 305 yards a game thereabout. So we'll see how that matches up against us and if they really can.
Well, you've already segued into one of my questions, so I'm just going to go ahead and hijack it.
Go ahead.
So Cincinnati runs a 3-3-5 defense.
Dude, are you reading off my sheet or what are you doing over here?
Look.
I'm like scratching off all the questions over here because we got all the same questions.
Okay, well, here's the actual question. Given Alabama's struggles when running the ball all year, is the 3-3-5 the cure for the common run game?
No, but he ain't asked me. That's for you.
Well, no. Well, I'm asking anybody who's gonna answer. You go first, Ryan, and then I'll let him finish it up.
Well, but everybody stays in 5 defensive backs currently, right? So many of Alabama's unit, even though it's probably not their base unit, they stay with 5 defensive backs. I think there's some rushing opportunities there, but here's the problem with the rushing. I don't think we're committed enough to it, and I don't know if that's because of depth. I don't know if it. They've had some key injuries with these guys, but even prior to those injuries, with Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams, I didn't see Bill O'Brien being committed to running the football. So as much as I would love to be able to say, yes, this is where Alabama finds that rushing attack, I'm going to say no, because I just don't know if we're a committed enough team as far as committed to running the football. I'm going to say no.
Okay, well, my comment about the 3-3-5 is it's twofold to it. I know that they can run a lot of stunts and blitzes out of that. And as I did talk about it early in the year, facing because you can do so many twists, right? Because it's stacked and you don't know where they're going, this kind of stuff. If you had asked me about this earlier, I would have thought it might have been a problem for us because we weren't doing very well at picking up stunts and twists. After the Georgia game, I feel a whole lot better.
That's fair.
About that. And because we have played one 3-3-5 team at least in Ole Miss.
Yes.
We did run the ball against them very well. So I don't
they would not get out of it.
Yes. So I don't see why we shouldn't have some type of success just with our power, our size. And when you do that, if you run a stunt or something and they miss or they guess wrong, it could be a big play for Robinson or any of the other running backs who are in there. So I think that's an advantage for us facing the 3-3-5.
All right. Next question is, we're 3 days after Christmas. Santa goes all over the place, and he also made a stop in Cincinnati. What did Santa have to have in his giant bag of presents in order for the University of Cincinnati to pull off an upset?
Help.
My answer is that he had to have a bag full of turnovers.
Yes.
I don't see that happening, though.
I didn't. That's why I said Santa. Magic. They're gonna have to be opportunistic. They're gonna have to come up with some kind of turnovers.
Here's what I think, though, JT. I think Desmond Ridder will have to be able to rush the football. He's a runner. He's the second leader rusher. Yeah. And if they find a way to get the quarterback loose, and maybe we need to ask about Jerome Ford and why he left Alabama to go to Cincinnati.
The answer is the coach that recruited him left him to Cincinnati.
Okay.
And he was buried in the depth chart.
All right. But my answer is, the thing that I think the only way, if Santa was to give something, it would be that Desmond Ridder finds a way to beat us with his
legs.
Because we've always seemed like we have that kind of weakness with a running or a scrambling type of quarterback. So,
well, we've got 3 minutes with Ryan so that he can get over to the West Coast
show. That's right.
Well, it's 9:15, so don't have to rush it too much. So 9:15, so I got a little bit of time, so you're okay.
No, I know we're being respectful of your time because we really do appreciate this because
Yeah, sure. Hey, I love talking football, man. I'm learning a lot, just taking notes here.
Well, being from T-Town and having us on the show, and you get a schmooze with all the people. JT and I have barely been on private planes, but I heard through the grapevine that you're going to be flying in on a private plane on Friday. So
hold on. Let me go ahead and tell you, because so Ryan had a caller on Monday that he was talking about how he was, Ryan was supposed to be here, and he was feeling a little under the weather, said to stay home, and he was going to fly in on Friday morning and fly out on Friday after the game. And Ryan was giving this dude a hard time because he said, "What, you don't think that we're a big time radio show? You don't think we have our own private jets?" So I know for sure that Ryan is going to be on his own private plane because he said yesterday that he gets to take off as long as his pilot shows up. They're going to be wheels up flying to Dallas, and they can leave whenever they want to leave. So what you got to say to that?
I love that.
Well, now, don't be rubbing it in too much now, George. I saw you on a private plane owned by the University of Alabama.
That's true.
Just a couple of weeks ago, I saw the white interior would look like. I mean, it was fancy. I mean, I don't think ours is going to be that fancy. I mean, it's like a crop duster coming out through Dallas.
Whatever.
We got a real quick question from Craig Young, Ryan. He wants to know, do you have a request line? I know you do, but if you will.
Well, now hold on. I just want to ask this right here, okay?
Okay.
When you say Craig Young, are we talking Bryce Young?
No.
Dad, Craig Young?
No, we're not.
Okay.
No, we're not.
Okay. I mean, because that's his dad's name. But, yeah, we do. And, listen, at 2 o'clock, a lot of great hosts that lead us out. Mark Houston, George's former teammates at 6, and then we have Wimp and Barry Sanderson, which was the basketball coach when George was here. Wimp Sanderson is 7 until 9, and we have Gary Harris, which is a local sports director here from 9 until 11, and then we have Jay Barker and Jacob Harrison from 11 until noon, and then Jay takes over from 12 until 2, and then I pick it up. Everything's already been said by 2 o'clock. So I'm a caller-friendly show. We take a lot of calls. I love to hear Alabama fans because I was that Alabama fan. Growing up in the state of Alabama, this was the dream to be able to come to the University of Alabama, not as a football player, but just as a student. And so I like to give fans the opportunity to talk. And we take a lot of phone calls. And there's a lot of people that will throw criticism. They'll be like, I can't believe you let the average fan have a voice. But I feel like that we do that, and we do it for 4 hours. And, I love calls, and it's so humbling when you wake up and your call board, and it's just all across the country that Nick Saban has built this Alabama brand. So it's become more of a national, maybe even international brand. But it's just Alabama fans engaging all over the country. And our number I'm a talk radio. I'm a solo guy, so I love to talk. But it's 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904. And we take probably about 40 calls a day. And we let people, talk. We don't just give them 30, 40 seconds. We let them give 3 or 4 minutes. And we invite them to have an opinion. And that's what we always maybe separates our show from other shows.
All right. Well, we do appreciate it very much. And I know Craig will probably be giving you a call. For sure. Here recently, he's out in Alabama. He's one of our loyal fans. He's here every single week on Teague's Take, so we're thankful for that. And we want to be conscious of your time as well, too, Ryan. So we want to go ahead and let you prepare, get you a glass of water or whatever it is that you need before you hit the East Coast or West Coast. West Coast here in a little bit, because I do have a couple things that we need to say to the fans out here before we get too far over our timeline. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys, and I appreciate Calvin for hosting the show, and George and JT. It's an honor to be on with you guys. I hope you guys have a great evening, and hopefully we can able to connect. And I promise you, I'm coming back out to a Dallas Cowboy game. Okay, I may not be able to make it on Sunday, but I'm coming back, and hopefully I can run into some of those great fans. And you guys have a great night. Thank you so much.
So we'll
Thanks for being on the show.
Y'all give it up one time for my man Ryan Fowler for coming on to the show and being a great guest. He's very knowledgeable, obviously. Y'all make sure y'all tune in his show on 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. I'm sure it airs in Birmingham and other places as well.
Yeah, I think you can definitely listen to it via the internet, because that's how I did it today. Jay Barker Show is a podcast, so I'd imagine that his is as well. It's a daily show, and it might be on Sirius XM as well. Not a sponsor, could be.
Yeah, it probably is. So I know that a lot of those TV or radio and TV stations will be in town for Radio Row, as they're calling it. Down, I don't know if it's actually at the Anatole or not, where the team is going to be staying. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's in the Omni, actually. But anyway, we're very thankful for him because he gave a lot of insight about both games and both teams. Again, we're out here live. We want to say thank you again to Calvin and the Atlanta Street Pub and Tap House for hosting us tonight. It's located at 6205 Court Road here in Plano, Texas. You need to get out here and come enjoy the place. I love being out here. JT alluded to it. It's a place that we would frequent after the games to say hello to the fans. I see them out there. They're always thankful. I've even was given a gift from some people out here that they gave me some deer meat that I was able to cook. And man, it was really, really good. But JT,
wait, hold on. You get talked about in chat here.
What?
Justin Riley said, "Oh, never mind. He said Jay is one of the few of George's teammates who won't come on our show. I guess it's because we act up.
Well,
probably. I mean, look. The fact that you said that Wimp Sanderson is still mad at you, I don't know what the story is behind that. I'm gonna need to figure it out. But it sounds like I'll be doing some wild stuff over there.
You gotta have some thick skin. Come on now. He got Marvin Constant on this show.
Right.
You know how he is. They always have Antonio Langham on their show.
Oh, well, that's it. Now, as soon as you put Langham on the show, you already gonna have some problems with people.
And then they got some comedians that comic Steve Brown on there, so he's always cracking jokes. Stephen M. Smith is just you got to have some thick skin if you're going to go on that show. They're a lot of fun. I can handle them. I can get right back at them, but I don't see Wimp Sanderson Sanders going back at them. So, is there any way you can get to that camera on your screen?
Which camera? Oh, you?
Just so I can show this.
Oh, yeah. How about this?
Okay, so I want everyone to kind of take a look at this. I know y'all can't see it out there in the fans, but I'm holding an inaugural coin here. It says George Teague, Defender of the Star on this side. And this, I'm trying to work.
You got. Oh, you good? Yep. It says NFL alumni.
It says NFL alumni on this side. These are very limited editions. I've been teasing this a little bit over the past few weeks. JT actually has his. My daughter has hers. Family members.
Come on now, this is my work computer. You can't be dropping.
Put it back. So these are very special to me. And you can. There's only one place that you can get them from.
Nope. Nightbot caught another body.
Uh-oh. There's only one place that you can get these from, and that is actually from. Maybe I shouldn't even tell you that, just in case you try to break into my house or something of that nature. But there's a special guest out here in the audience that drove out here, and I think he lives a pretty good distance away. I'm not even sure I know how to pronounce his full name. I call him Cisco, this guy right here, he's talking to over his girlfriend. Will you tap him on the back of his shoulder, please? Yeah, he hadn't been listening to what I'm saying. I need you to come up here because I got a gift for you because he's a very special fan. He's always active on social media. He's always tends to be out here when they have this. So I want to be able to present you with this coin. This will be the very first coin that I've actually ever given to anybody outside of my family.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yes. So for being a great Cowboy fan, a great fan via social media and everything else, I want to hand you this. And hopefully you'll cherish that and keep that and give that to your family, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. And thanks for coming out tonight. Where do you live? What city are you?
Irving.
So he's out in Irving, so he drove over to bring me something as well, but I want to be able to give that to you and say thank you for all that you do. And I know you get a lot of different things from a lot of different Cowboy players and things,
That's special.
but I wanted you to have that. So you're the only one that has one of those. So
Thanks.
yeah, appreciate you very much. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, so JT, we had a whole lot of good points from Ryan.
Do you want to give a score prediction to close it out?
Oh, for the Bama game?
Yes. Oh, and pick a winner for the other playoff game.
Yeah, and we do got. Well, before we do that, let's give a shout out to Charge 380.
Oh, right. Yes.
Well, for being the sponsors of our Teague Bowl Mania.
Yep. Bowl confidence pool.
Catching a lot of havoc in that with all the bowl games being canceled.
Yeah. So for those that front loaded their points,
I know, but I keep losing. I'm on a losing streak here lately. I think I still was in second place, but I lost again today because I picked Auburn to win their game. So that probably put you way, way ahead. I didn't look at it before we got here, but thank you all of you are in our Bowl Mania confidence pool as well. Charge 380 is going to give the winner, not to me and JT, but to someone else, a $150 gift card to be able to come shop at their location in McKinney, Texas. You can do it via the internet as well. If you're one of the people who are out of state who are in our pool. So we're very happy with that. So there's a few more bowl games coming up. We're getting into the big prime time kind of things coming up.
Year 6 coming up.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that the SEC does well, JT. I don't know how many of those games we have left for SEC,
10.
but
You got 10 left.
I don't know if we're going to fare well or not. I'm kind of scared.
Well, I guess 9 left because A&M's not playing in theirs. Well, I told you in the car was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yesterday. I said I looked at most of his matchups and I picked against most of the SEC teams. I don't think I should have picked UCF. I wanted to pick UCF. I just thought that talent would just take over because UCF's quarterback was leaving too.
Right.
But I will say, yeah, talent did take over. UCF is just a better team than Florida right now. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I just hate it because people are going to be talking about the SEC. As much as I brag about it, all that.
That's fine, but you got to remember, at least what I hold dear is Houston can talk about beating Auburn all they want to. Auburn finished 10th in the SEC and barely won that football game. So fine. If your second best group of 5 team is squeaking by the bottom team in the SEC West, okay, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I'll try to take that attitude and believe that. And I don't know. I just hope we show up well, just because I talk so much trash. Maybe I need to stop talking trash all the time. All right. So Alabama game, I do think that we cover. What are you laughing at?
Walter Moss says he thinks he's better off if he just starts over. He has a losing record straight up. I think Craig and Walter are telling me that Mississippi State is down 34-7 right now.
What? God, Mississippi State?
Yeah, they're losing to Texas Tech, I think.
To Tech? I got that wrong. again,
Mississippi
though.
State might have been one of the few SEC teams that I picked.
Yeah, I picked them to win. I figured it's Tech, Texas Tech, and we're getting blown out. So that's oh boy, oh well.
Oh, less than a minute left. It's over, basically.
Yeah,
It's over.
That's not good. That's not good at all.
All right, let's wrap it up. We
All
can
right.
keep going all day.
Alabama, I think we cover. I do think it's a wider margin than most people think. It said it was going to be a 13.5-point spread. I think we win by 4 touchdowns.
Whoa.
I do.
Okay. I do think they win the game. This is a game they should win. This is what this is where I think it's going to go off the rails. Cincinnati is built like Alabama was a few years ago, just not at that 5-star talent level, in my opinion. They've got their front 7 is not as good as Georgia's front 7, but their secondary, I think, is better than Georgia's secondary. But all that to say, they have kicking problems. And I think what happens, or what is a high potential of happening, is they put a good drive together. They get down there, and they're just trying to get points on the board, and they miss a field goal, and they're deflated. There might be, I think the kicker's longest, their longest kick is like 32 yards or something, and he's missed half of them. Something like they've got issues in their special teams game. And I think that all it takes is 1 or 2 missed kicks for them to start kind of pressing like Ole Miss did, going for it on 4th down over and over again, not picking those up. And next thing you know, you're down by 21. So I'm going to go Alabama to cover. I'm going to say 23 points.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's good. What about the and so there's another big matchup with the Cowboys, though, against the Arizona Cardinals this week.
Yes.
Pretty important game for both teams,
Yes.
as a matter of fact. The Cardinals are coming here to play the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys pull it out. And I don't even know what the spread is.
I don't know what the spread is either.
I think it was 5, maybe.
5?
I think it was a little bit. It could be lower, but I was going to say that we win by, 3. So if the line is 2.5, or
the line is 5.5.
Yeah, 5.5.
My goodness.
Yes. Well, they got some issues. They hadn't been playing well. Kyler Murray's been throwing some picks. Their defense hasn't been quite as stout.
Our defense is the difference between the defense last year and the defense this year, just at a fundamental level, is the Cowboys' defense this year is fast.
Yes. And aggressive, and they're hitting. If they get on Kyler Murray and do what the Rams did to him, essentially.
Yes.
I can see us winning, but I think it's going to be
Greg says Cowboys 24-10. John Davis is Bama 38-17. I'm going to take the Cowboys to cover. I think they win by a touchdown.
I'd be happy with that.
And I am going to pick Michigan straight up.
Oh, yeah, I guess we didn't talk about that. I'm going to root for Michigan anyway, just because I don't want to play Georgia again. So I'll take Michigan as well. But anyway, there are our picks. Again, thank you once again for those who came out to support us and be here in the chat, in person, out here live, Atlanta Street Pub and Tap House here in Plano, Texas. It's been a great time and a great show. Thank you guys for everything that you do. We'll be back. We won't be here, but we will be via stream next week, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube. Y'all check us out, and we'll see you guys later.